So next up, we've got Triloquist from 2008. It's about a drug-addicted ventriloquist who dies. Well, it's not about them, but, she dies and leaves his 2 children, one named Angelina, the other named Norbert, and they've also got this puppet called Dummy, and they bounce from foster homes and then eventually, I think, live with their uncle, who seems to molest Angelina, and they kill his ass and go live on the streets and do a bunch of killing and silly stuff, and yeah, it's not really the most ingenious script ever written, but then again, I guess you could say that about most movies. But the funny thing is, I actually got sent this movie from the studio back in, 2008. I remember this is one of the movies that they sent to me, and it's probably, not that it had a lot of marketing to it, from what I can recall. It's certainly not a very popular movie, but I guess it was kind of mismarketed, or, they were playing up that, it's a killer doll movie, or, it's from the guy who directed Leprechaun, so you're thinking things like Chucky and Leprechaun as you're trying to watch this movie, and it's so far from either of the two. It's definitely far from anything you'd see in a Chucky movie. And so going in with that expectation, I certainly didn't enjoy it the first time I watched it. But I have watched it probably at least 3 or 4 times now since it came out, and I would say that I've slightly enjoyed it a little bit more every single time I watch it. I think as a whole, it's not a good movie. Certainly not necessarily a good movie, but I tend to enjoy it a lot in pieces. Like, it's a movie where I'll go back and I'll watch 5-10 minutes of it, random different parts of the movie, and I'll watch it like that. It's something that's growing on me a bit the more and more I watch it.
Yeah, this, I'm trying to find out the best way to begin this. I, had a thoroughly unenjoyable time with this. Like, a few weeks back, maybe it was a month ago or so, we reviewed Cherokee Creek. And that movie, well, I thought you liked it, I think, a little more than I did. I thought it was really terrible.
I would say you liked it a whole lot less than I disliked it.
Yeah, that's probably true. And this movie reminded me of that one in that I struggled to get through it. See, this is part of the problem. The beginning, when it's narrated by the dummy, which I hated, but that's not really the point. It reminded me of Seed of Chucky in a few ways, and if anybody's read my review, I hated Seed of Chucky, and I actually thought this movie was worse. So I had a difficult time with this. There was one line that I thought was funny at the beginning, the trick or treat line. I thought that was pretty funny, but pretty much everything else, I was just like cringing, and it's not my type of humor. And what's her name? Payden Lopachin. That may be a mispronunciation, but she's the main female actress in this movie. I just, every scene she was in, which was most of them, she reminded me of Sherry Moon Zombie's baby Firefly. Only it seems like she was so much worse.
Oh, she wasn't that annoying.
Oh yes, she was. But that may just be an agree to disagree type thing.
Well, just before we move on from that, with Sherry Moon Zombie, I actually don't mind her overall in like other movies, but in that particular series, she was always like, which is really annoying.
I actually think this individual is so much worse, but and maybe it's because in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, she has other family members around her, so she herself might be terrible, but at least you have other people like Otis. In this one, it's just herself and a brother who never talks, and she gets it on with. And I don't know, and I don't think that's spoilers, but spoiler in case.
Oh my god, you spoiled the movie.
Yeah, Triloquist, which, speaking of it, why doesn't she just say ventriloquist? Why is it Triloquist? I don't know, that's a small thing, but that also bothered me.
I think maybe that was her distinction between a normal ventriloquist and this supposed magic
yeah.
ventriloquist. I don't know. Maybe.
It's possible, and if so, then I hate her even more. I know. I appreciate. It's funny because I actually have a friend from another horror website I speak to, and I was mentioning that I was watching this, and he actually enjoys this movie. He gave it an 8 out of 10. And I forget what how high your rating goes, but he really enjoyed this one, and it just blew my mind because I'm wondering if I'm alone in this. But I thought this was horrible. This is probably one of the worst movies I've seen in the last 5 years of my life. So I don't know. Before I get any more into it, speak about why it's the best movie ever made.
You're probably not alone because I think the IMDb rating's 4 out of 10 or something like that. So it's certainly a lower rated movie. But one area of this movie where I think it actually not necessarily shines, but stood out to me is its soundtrack. Now it's got a really unusual collection of songs. I mean, if you listen to them all on their own, they don't really go all that well together. But it's just something that I noticed throughout the movie, and there are a couple of songs that I really enjoyed in the movie. There's one towards the end of the movie called "Alone" by Kerry Jo Hubrick, which is a good song. In fact, if anyone out there has that song, send it to me, because right now on YouTube, all I can find is one where it's cut off, it's cut off the last minute of the song. And I can't find the full song anyway. But there's other songs throughout the movie, and it also ends with a rendition of Beautiful Dreamer, which is a song that has 1 million different versions. But that version of it, I enjoyed the way it ended with that song as well. So the music to the movie definitely is a strong part of my enjoyment. They're not necessarily songs that I would listen to in my own time just by myself, but...
You would listen to Rockabye Baby.
Yeah. But no, that's just an area that, like I said, every time I watch this movie, it gets a little bit better. No, I wouldn't say overall I think it's a good movie, but yeah, every time I watch it, I enjoy it a little more, and the music is a strong part of that, because when I first watched a movie, I don't think I even sniffed at the soundtrack. I didn't really pick up on anything or take anything from that out of my experience, whereas now I do.
I think it's so funny because from what I heard, the soundtrack was pretty horrible. One of the songs is okay, I think, and I'm not sure if it's the one you're talking about or not. It may very well be. But otherwise, I couldn't stand any of the music, and the fact that also I couldn't stand any of the characters or any of the dialogue or anything. It all combined to make a difficult time. I think a big issue, for me, I mean taking away the I think a lot of this movie's bad, but taking away that, getting to a wider issue is my views on comedy horror. Or horror comedies. When horror comedies go over the top, I have a really difficult time with those movies. And some of them are close calls. There are parts of Shaun of the Dead that I don't care for because I think, hey, that's a bit much. It's way too it's way too comedy for me. And even some classics Return of the Living Dead. It's a movie I generally enjoy a lot, but there's just a few scenes that are just a bit much. And then there are movies, go way overboard, like a movie that we reviewed titled Nightmare Sisters. And there were aspects of even Monster Man from 2003, which we also reviewed, that just went a bit over the top, and I'm mainly talking about the conclusion of that one. But this movie, it was nothing but over the top, stupid comedy dialogue. So that's allowed to picture. That's probably one of my biggest issues with this movie. That the type of comedy here, the dummy, oh hey, you have great tits, and oh why thank you, that's so nice. It happened 3 times throughout the movie.
Come on, that's funny.
I might have grinned the first time, but it's not my type of thing. So that's probably a big issue. It's just this type of comedy horror. Is it really my, I guess, forte?
Okay. See, now I'm laughing. I'm
happy that I was able to provide some entertainment.
I don't mind, silly, dumb movies like this. It's that's kind of what it is. I mean, it's just kind of off the walls, and I guess one other thing that I should mention is the brother character who, I don't know if he. I actually didn't watch it just before this show, so it's been months since I actually watched it. But he kind of bumbles around the screen I always referred to him as being Justin Long with a severe case of autism. He just kind of bounces around the screen, I don't know what the hell he's doing, but yeah, I can't get that image of Justin Long with severe autism out of my head.
If Justin Long is listening, we apologize.
Yeah, and in fact, if he wants to defend himself, he can get on this show and fucking defend himself. And until he does that, he's going to be known as that guy from Triloquist. Anywho's, as I was saying, it's a movie that's really grown on me over time. I still don't think overall it's a great movie, but it's a movie that I have plenty of fun with. Just a lot of small different things that I pull out of it, and from its, like that scene that you said earlier, hey, I like your tits, and then to some of the music, and it's such a weird movie. I guess one thing you could say about it is not too many other movies exactly like this one. I mean, there's other movies that you could say possibly a little similar, but nothing exactly similar to this. So to me, it stands out as a little unique as well. And whether that's intentional or they were just trying to make such a stupid, silly movie that it ended up being that way, I don't know. But anywho, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I enjoy it.
Yeah, this is a movie, like I said, I had a difficult time with. It's not a movie I can ever see myself watching again if I'm sober. And maybe that was part of the problem. Maybe the movie would be okay in a party type environment. It's quite possible. I just know I had a pretty negative time at this. And I saw almost no redeeming factors. So I would give this a 0 out of 10. And
what the fuck?
And I have I've never had this issue before. But if I need to, I will round up to a 1 out of 10 to help you out. But my base rating is a 0 out of 10, and that's a thoroughly unenjoyable experience.
You made the comparison earlier about Cedar Chucky, and that's kind of funny because I also give Cedar Chucky a 7 out of 10, and I do kind of see some similarities between the movie, even though they're certainly not the same.
See, my thing is, I think Seed of Chucky, it was a bad movie, and I forget what I forget what rating I gave it. I know it's
you gave it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah. So but the thing about that movie is at least Chucky was there. At least we got something. But this movie, we have nothing. So.
Well, what about the boy who gets his arm butchered off?
Yeah,
You didn't enjoy it?
No, not so much.
Never had your dick sucked by a ventriloquist?
Yeah, that scene. No. I was actually I was sort of hoping during the strip auditioning for in this strip club. I was sort of thinking that maybe she would come out with the dummy and strip. I thought that's where it was going. But obviously that's not where it goes. But she didn't strike me as a particularly modest individual, so I don't see why she didn't. But I might have given the movie a 1 out of 10 if she did, on a side note. But yeah, see that, and then that scene that follows it that you just referenced. That, I mean, I appreciate. Well, I in theory appreciate it, but it didn't do anything for me. So.
Okay, well, if it had a doll puppet stripping on stage, you would have given it a better score.
That's not quite what I said, but I am okay with that.
Okay.